Hello again, guys. Hope you all doing well. So this is the fourth session of our DET prep, Duolingo English test prep. On the previous lectures, on the first, the second, and the third lectures, we have spoken about the introduction and get ready for the test part. So in these two sections, we particularly covered some general information about the test. And in this session, we particularly will dig into this topic, which says test structure. It means in the test structure, we will cover video walkthrough, which is a kind of video that you can watch on a website which talks all about the entire test and can give you an overview of all the tests. Then we talk about the test length and then about adaptive testing, and finally we will speak about how the test is set up. Then we can move on to the next chapter, which talks about understand the test questions, which particularly we will dig into every question type. So let's move on particularly to the next topic. But before that, let me share the screen. That's nice, guys. As I told you previously that on the previous lectures we have spoken, and we just dig into some introductions and then some other tips for getting ready for the test. And particularly in this session we will cover test structure. In the test structure we will have the video walkthrough, the test length, about adaptive testing, and finally how the test is set up. These are the things that we are going to cover in this session. So particularly the test structure is the first topic that we should speak about. So let's move on. It says in this section you will learn about the format, individual sections, and length of the test, these three factors. And you will also learn more about computer adaptive testing and how it affects your test experience. So these are four topics that we are going to cover in this session. So particularly, let's go about and talk about video walkthrough. It says on the best way, one of the best ways to learn about the structure of the test is to watch the video walkthrough, and that is on the website of goduolingo.com walkthrough, or YouTube channel. You can watch the video. To particularly go to this website, there is a video which talks particularly about the Duolingo test, and you can get a lot of information about the test from that video, something like that. And then about the test length, I want to say that you will need about 1 hour for uninterrupted free time to take the Duolingo English test. So this is something that we have spoken on the previous sessions, so it's not necessary to dig into these topics very much. The next topic here says that about adaptive testing. So guys, adaptive testing, particularly it says the Duolingo English test is a computer adaptive test. What does it mean in fact? It means that the question sequence and difficulty changes from each test taker and test session. Because it is adaptive, the test has a few differences from other tests you may have taken. We also have spoken about this topic, that if, for example, your performance is good at the beginning of the test, so maybe the next half of the test will get difficult. Maybe if your performance is weaker at the beginning of the test, the rest half of the test, maybe the test will get easier, because the test is adaptive and it will change according to your performance. That's it. And the next topic says only one section. It says unlike other tests, you won't see the same types of questions grouped together. Different questions will appear one after another. You will not know which type of question will be asked next. So particularly in this topic, they want to say that Duolingo is not organized. It's not, for example, set it up like other tests. For example, in TOEFL, when there is the turn for the reading section, all the questions are about the reading part. There is a passage and approximately 10 questions pop up, and they're all about the same test, the same passage. But in Duolingo, that's not designed that way. It means maybe the first question that you faced with, that is a vocabulary question. The next one, maybe it's a speaking question. The next one, maybe it's a reading question. The next one, maybe, for example, they bring a picture and they ask you to write about it. So it means the sequence of questions are not, it means particularly set, so you're not going to have a group of questions on the same topic. So they will be different. So just keep this in mind. And the last topic here in this side of the book, okay, in this side, the last topic is a varying difficulty. It says the difficulty of the question changes dynamically throughout the test. Therefore, some questions may seem easier or harder than others. That is normal. So we have spoken about this. And on the right side of the book, we have some other topics which says adaptive length. It means there is no set number of questions. The test ends when the grading engine is confident in your score. Guys, I can remember that one of you asked that how many questions are there in the test. Guys, the number of questions are not set previously in the test. So in TOEFL or IELTS, on those two questions, on those two tests, the number of questions are clear. They tell you, for example, you have 10 questions about every passage. You have, for example, 28 questions in the listening section. You have 4 tasks in the speaking section. You have 2 tasks on the writing section. Everything is clear there. But in Duolingo, that's not designed that way. It means there is not a specific number of questions. The time when the engine, the artificial intelligence, they got satisfied from your test, so they will end the test. So that's why they say the test takes approximately 1 hour. They don't say that exactly 1 hour. Maybe the test will end up before 1 hour. Maybe it takes more than an hour. So particularly that's called an adaptive test. So also every other part is adaptive. On the same time, length of the test is also adaptive. Maybe it will be less than 1 hour, maybe more than 1 hour. And the next one is talks about unique experience, that the test questions draw from an extremely large pool. So it is highly unlikely that you will encounter the same question twice, no matter how many times you take the exam. So that's it. Means in the unique experience topic, they want to say that it is not possible that you will meet the same questions for the second time. So in the practice test, as I'm sure most of you have experienced that, particularly in the practice test, there are a lot of questions that you can see them repeatedly, but in the real test, it does not happen. It means all the questions are different. You will not have one question for the second time. And the next topic that we have here, it says how the test is set up. So let's talk a little bit about the setup of the test. So about the setup of the test, the first one I want to say that once you begin the test, you will be guided through the 3 different sections. The first one, introduction and onboarding, which takes 5 minutes. The second one is adaptive test, which takes around 45 minutes. And the last one, a writing sample and a speaking sample, which takes around 10 minutes. So these are 3 core things, or 3 big subtopics, or 3 big parts that you're going to have on the test. So let's dig into the first one, which is introduction and onboarding, which takes around 5 minutes. So when you start a test, okay, pretend like you are on the real test day, and you are just starting the application and you are starting the test. The first thing that appears into your computer and you can see, that's introduction and onboarding, which takes around 5 minutes. In that part, you should ensure your computer's camera, speakers, and microphone are functioning properly. So particularly you should check out your computer's camera, your speakers, and also your microphone, and then submit your government issued photo ID. So particularly I told you that in this part, passport is something very good. And finally, review the test rules and requirements. On the introduction and onboarding part, there are some rules and regulations that they pop up on your on the screen of your computer, and you can read them. And the next part after the introduction and onboarding, that's adaptive test, which takes around 45 minutes. So particularly 45 minutes, but maybe it means it will be less than 45 or more than 45. So don't stick with this number. So when the test starts, particularly, you should keep in mind that the test measures your English skills through a series of different question types. That on the next chapter of this book, we will dig into every question type particularly. And test questions are administered randomly, and question difficulty changed based on your performance. So this is something that we have spoken about, that the test is changeable, it's adaptive, so it will change according to your performance. And that's it. There are different types of questions. They measure you in English. And as I told you many times before that, Duolingo is just testing your English. It's just testing your ability to use English. It's not like other tests like TOEFL or IELTS that they test you psychologically or socially or in any other terms. In TOEFL, maybe, for example, beside English, the answer which you provide, it's for example, the value of answer is also important for them. What do you say for the answer? It means how do you think about the answer? It's also important in TOEFL, but in Duolingo that's not designed that way. So particularly they just want to understand that, are you really good at using English, or are you really good at or do you have a good English proficiency? That's it. And particularly after adaptive test, which takes around 45 minutes. When I say around 45 minutes, so it will take more than 45 or less than 45. So don't stick to this number. And finally, the last part of the test is writing sample and speaking sample, which takes around 10 minutes. Guys, before digging into this part, I want to say that some of the universities, particularly in the United States, they ask you for your speaking and for your writing sample of Duolingo test. Even I have read in some of their websites that they say that they accept your speaking section or your speaking sample of the Duolingo test as your interview. So you should just think about it, that how important it is. It means your speaking sample on the Duolingo test is as much important as your interview when you are shortlisted for a university. So most of American universities, they ask for the speaking sample from the Duolingo website. When you share your score, they just concentrate on your speaking sample on your writing sample, and they just use your speaking sample maybe like an interview. It means it gives the value of an interview for them. So that's why a speaking sample and writing sample, which is the last part of the test, they're crucial. Please just keep focused on them and don't just leave them because maybe you think that they are not, for example, scored or things like that. Because on the previous version of Duolingo, these two parts were not scored and they were not very, for example, important. But right now they're really, really crucial. They're as valuable as an interview for a university. So particularly in this part, you will be given a prompt and asked to respond at length. And the speaking sample follows from a 1 to 3 minute response, and the writing sample allows for a 3 to 5 minute response. So in the speaking, maybe there will pop up a question and they will ask you to talk about that question for 3 minutes. So you should organize your presentation of 3 minutes. So you should understand that your speaking should have an introduction. You should have some body paragraphs, okay, that in your speaking you should present them, okay? And finally, you should have a conclusion. So introduction, body, and conclusion is really crucial when they ask you, for example, about being agree or disagree with a sentence. So please concentrate that on the introduction section. You should particularly state your point of view, that do you exactly agree or disagree, and then you should provide that, for example, I'm agree with this sentence because of these 3 reasons. The first reason is this, the second is this, and the third one is this. You should find supporting sentences for the first reason, details for the first reason, and then supporting sentence and detailed sentences for the second reason, and finally supporting sentences and details for the third reason, and finally a conclusion. So this is the way you can organize your speaking, and it will really last for around 3 minutes. But if you don't prepare and if you don't have an outline of speaking on your mind, be sure that the test will not go very well. Because however, even if your speaking was good, so on that time maybe you will forget some ideas, maybe you will forget even some information. So that's why it will get difficult. So just providing or making a plan before speaking is really good. So that's it. The last one says you will be able to review your response to these samples after the test has concluded. Institutions that receive your results will also receive these samples. So this is something what I told you before. So particularly you should understand that you can also check your responses for the writing sample and the speaking sample right after the test. So guys, this unit is also done, the units of test structure. So we are also done with the test structure, which we have spoken about with video walkthrough, about test lengths, about adaptive testing, and finally about how the test is set up. So particularly we are moving to this part, which is understanding the test questions. So this unit is the most important unit of this book, because the previous units, the previous 3 units that we have covered, they were extra information. They were general information that they're really crucial. You should understand those things. But they are, for example, general information. But particularly this unit, which says understanding the test questions, this is particularly going through the questions. And the next one, which is preparing your environment, test security, understand your scores, share your results, conclusion, appendix, and practice questions are also extra things. So particularly the main unit that we will focus is understanding the test questions. So let's dig into that unit. Okay, and the understanding the test questions, these are the topics that we are going to cover. The first topic is, okay, I'm sorry, I just... Okay, that's it. The topics that we are going to cover on the understand the test questions unit is, the first one is general tips. We are going to have some general tips on the question formats on different kind of questions. And then we have a diagram of a question, then question types, then how often questions appear, and finally how questions are scored. So these are particularly 5 topics that we are going to cover in this unit. So let's move on. So let's move on here. The title of this unit is Understand the Test Questions. Particularly in this section, you will learn about the different types of questions you will see on the Duolingo English test. The description of each question type will have important information and tips on how to respond. That's it. Particularly, let's have some general tips. So these general tips help approximately in all the question types, but particularly for specific question types, we are going to have the tips. So there are some good strategies and habits that apply to all of the question types on the Duolingo English test. They include test taking strategies, writing tips, and speaking tips. So these are general tips today, can particularly help you on all the skills, on all the question types. So particularly the first topic covers test taking strategies. So we have a lot of strategies here that we should concentrate on them. They can really help. For example, the first strategy that we have here, it says, use all of the time that you have available to answer a question. You will not receive a better score for answering questions faster. Very good. Yeah, it means, however, this is not, for example, a very, very important thing. But most of the time, students think that if they just ignore a question faster, for example, the question says that you have 2 minutes for responding this question. But for example, you are done with answering that question for 1 minute, and still you have 1 minute left. You just click on next. You think that if you move faster, you will get a better score. No, that does not apply to this test. Please use all the time that they give you. Particularly, there are a question type that there is a paragraph. Some of the words are, some letters from some of the words are omitted. For example, there is, for example, book. It's written B-O, and another O with K is, there is just a, for example, blank, and you are supposed to write those 2 letters. In these type of questions where there's a paragraph and they ask you to complete the letters, they give you around, I think, more than 2 minutes, around 2 minutes or 2 minutes 30 seconds. Maybe you will finish the part, I mean, before that the time's up, but when the time still leaves, when there is still time, so particularly try to use that time to recap, to reread the paragraph, and to revise what you have done. It's much better than clicking on the next button, because clicking on next or going to the next question will not help you get a better score. But revising the test or recapping the test maybe help you to fix some problems that you will, for example, understand in revising section. So this is the first strategy, and it is really crucial, and you should keep in mind that. And the next strategy that they give you is that if you can, give longer responses than is required. For example, write more than 50 words or speak longer than 30 seconds. If you are using English effectively and your response is relevant to the question, a more developed answer could help you achieve a better score. Exactly. Guys, there are some questions that they ask you to write something, and they say that if you write around 50 words, that's okay. But try to write more than 50 words, okay? Or there are some questions that they ask you that if you speak around, you are required to speak around 90 seconds. But if you speak, for example, about 30 seconds or 60 seconds, the next button activates. It activates because you can move on to the next question, but please don't do that. Use all the amount of time they give you and speak as much as possible. If you are speaking and if you are writing is very well structured and they are good, so then when the number of words increased or when the number of seconds is increased in your speaking, surely you will get a better score. So please try to have a very organized response related to the topic and use, for example, more and write, for example, more than 50 words or speak more than 30 seconds, even if, for example, they don't require you. But you please do that, because if your speaking is good and if you have spoken more than they require, so exactly you will get a better score. So that's it up to this part. So particularly, let's move on. The next general tip that they tell you is that you will not be penalized for mistakes until you click next to submit your answer and move on to the next item. So take the time to make your corrections. You can't return to a question once you have clicked next. That's it. Guys, the first sentence is crucial. You will not be penalized for mistakes until you click next. That's it. It means if you even made some mistakes on the question, for example, there is a kind of question where they ask you that try to use the real English words. So, for example, you have chosen around 5 to 6 words, and still there are a lot of words. So, on the same on the time that when you are having the test, you will not be penalized. Your score will not decrease. But if you click on the next button, so that will be the end, because you will not be able to turn back to that question. On that time, your mistakes will decrease your scores. So it means still in this strategy, they want to, in other words, they're saying that please use all the time that they give you. Don't click on next. Just try to, for example, recap the things again and revise the things again to find whether if you have made any mistake or not. And the next general tip is that try not to look at the timer too often, because it can distract you from effectively responding. Exactly, guys. I'm sure most of you have experienced that. For example, when you're speaking, if you don't look at the, for example, at the seconds, which is 90 seconds. So if you prepare your response and you start speaking without looking at the timer, you will be more focused. But if you look at a timer, you will, for example, not be more focused, and you will lose your concentration, because you will think with yourself, oh, that's it. I have spoken more. I have spoken less. So the timer distracts you. It distracts your mind. It distracts your speaking, and you can't concentrate on your speaking. So that's why it's really not necessary to look at a timer or to just keep your eyes on the timer. That's not very effective. And the last tip, the last general tip, which is here, it is leave time at the end of each question to check your response. Yeah, this is really crucial, because if the test gives you, for example, 2 minutes, so please at least put around 30 seconds or more than that for recapping, for revising whether you have made any mistake or not. So that's it. Guys, these were general tips. So you can just use these tips in all the question types, no matter whether they are speaking, they are writing, reading, or anything they are. So you can particularly use from these questions or from these tips for the questions to solve them. So let's move on to some tips on writing and on speaking of the test. There are 2 tips for writing. The first one says, use proper spelling, grammar, punctuation, and capitalization in writing. The Duolingo English test accepts both American and British spelling. Yeah, most of you have asked questions, for example, the teacher, if I write, for example, color for C-O-L-O-R or C-O-L-O-U-R, so what should I do? So you have asked these kind of questions many times. So particularly, you can receive your answers here, that if you spell on British English or on American English, it does not make any problem. The only exception is the read and complete question type, which uses American spelling only. Yeah, particularly in read and complete questions. So there is something that you read and then you complete that. So we will particularly come to that question. So on those kind of questions, you are just required an American spelling. So particularly, guys, if you are comfortable with American English, so please stick with American English, because Duolingo is American, and they love that the spellings would be American. So it's better to be American. But if you are, for example, in other parts without read and complete, if you use from the British style, so it's not a big deal, and it does not make any problem. Guys, particularly on the first part, I want to say you something. Most of we have used it from the MS Word, from the Microsoft Word document. In MS Word, when you write a sentence, even if you don't capitalize the first letter, the engine itself automatically capitalizes the first letter. If you make, for example, mistake on the spelling of a word, the system automatically corrects the spelling mistakes. So this have made a very, for example, somehow negative effect, and it made a negative habit for all of us. Be sure that for all of us, most of the time in these tests that we write a sentence, we expect the computer to capitalize the first letter itself. Yeah, it's our expectation. We have experienced many times. Even myself, I have many times experienced that when I am writing, for example, when I am practicing for these tests, or when I took the test, most of the time when I was writing, I was thinking that maybe the computer itself capitalizes the first letter or corrects some spellings, but it's not that way. It means the paper or the screen that they provide for writing, that is the same like a white paper. If you write, for example, you want to say, for example, I go to school every day. If you don't capitalize I at the beginning of your sentence, the system automatically will not capitalize that. If you write, for example, a school, if you don't write S-C-H-O-O-L, if you write, for example, S-C-O-O-L, the system will not add H to your to the word of score, so school. So just keep in mind that this is not an automatic machine to check your spelling, to, for example, capitalize the sentences. So keep in mind that you're supposed to capitalize the sentences yourself, or to make the correction on grammar and punctuation yourself. So the next one says, vary your sentences structure and word choice as much as possible. Using more diverse, sophisticated vocabulary and grammar can help you achieve a better score. Let me give you an example, guys. If you say, I study Duolingo preparation. This is a simple sentence. I study, or I have a Duolingo class, and I'm working on the TOEFL test too. This is a compound sentence. Early in the morning, I have a Duolingo prep. Then I move on to a TOEFL class, and at the end, I concentrate on my SAT programs. So this is a complex sentence. In my room, on my desk, in my room, on my desk, there is a, for example, tablet, a computer. There is a tablet and a computer that I mostly use. A bottle of water that I use for drinking. And a bookshelf which I put my books on that. This is called a complex sentence. The first portion, what sentence? The second portion, which I have spoken about the bottle, the second sentence. The third portion, which I have spoken about the bookshelf, is the third sentence. So I have sticked, or I have combined these three sentences together. This is called complex. If I say, for example, I am studying English and playing soccer this year. This is a compound sentence because I have joined the first sentence with the second one. But if I say, I go to school every day, this is a simple sentence. I am looking on the screen of computer. This is a simple sentence. I am typing on the computer. This is a simple sentence. Guys, you have these three structures of sentences, and I'm sure on your general English classes, on your academic English classes, in any course that you have been, or any system that which you have learned, I'm sure you understand about the simple, the compound, and complex sentences. So particularly the suggestions are that please on the test try to use mostly from compound and complex sentences, because simple sentences are not very interesting. Guys, a simple sentence is a sentence which has just one subject and one verb with a complement. This is a simple sentence. When two simple sentences get together, they make a compound sentence. When more than two simple sentences get together, they make a complex sentence. So guys, you're supposed to write compound sentences and complex sentences, because compound and complex sentences can increase your score, but simple sentences, they are not very effective. Maybe they will help you get some scores, but they are not so much effective. They're not as much effective as the compound and complex sentences. So in your writing, keep in mind that writing a compound or a complex sentence is really a good idea. So these are two general tips for the writing section. So let's move on to the speaking tips. Here we have 4 tips for speaking, and then we move on to page 13, which talks about about this section. So particularly, we will move on to that. So before that, speaking loudly, clearly, and at an understandable pace is the best thing that you can do. Guys, try to speak louder, because maybe the microphone has some problems, or maybe that's something online. So keep in mind that the person is not in front of you. So speaking louder to the microphone or speaking louder to your computer is a good idea, because they can understand you very well. But don't speak so much loud that they even don't hear you. So when they say speak loudly, it's in a level of loudness. And then clearly. And then understandable pace. When they say understandable pace, don't speak so fast. Okay, I have even I've even told you on the previous sections that on the previous classes that when most of the students, most of the test takers and candidates, they think that if they speak faster, they sound more American, they sound more fluent. No, it's not that way. Speaking faster is not for example, guarantee that your speaking is good, okay? Or it does not mean that your fluency in speaking is really excellent. No, guys. Or speaking so slow, speaking slowly is really tough. Speaking so fast is really tough. But speaking in a normal pace, this is very normally when you're just talking to someone in your own language. So just talk on that way. Don't speak faster. Speaking faster does not it means guarantee that your speaking is good. So please just leave the idea that speaking faster means having a good fluency. No, that's not like that. And then you will not have a chance to re-record your response. So even if you make a mistake, just keep going. That's it. It means you don't have the chance to for example, if you made a mistake on the first, for example, question of speaking, maybe you forgot something, maybe you, for example, made a mistake on something, so just keep going. You don't have any chance to come back to that question or re-record that question. And then make sure you don't submit your recording until after you have finished your entire response. Yeah, as I told you, when they tell you, for example, that you have 90 seconds to speak, okay, so if you speak around 60 seconds, the next button will be activated. So you can click on next and go to the next question. But please don't do that. Please completely speak for about 90 seconds and then, for example, click on the next button. And finally, just like with your writing, vary your sentences, sentence structure, and word choices as much as possible. So as I told you, as on the writing section, that we are supposed to use from the compound and complex sentences, not just the simple sentences. The same thing applies to the speaking also. In the speaking section also, guys, please don't just, for example, use from the simple words. Don't say, for example, I go to school, I do this, I do that, or he does this work. Don't just use from the structure of subject, verb, complement, subject, verb, complement. That's simple. Just try to use, for example, from compound structures, from complex structures, because they can help you get a very good score. So that's it, guys. These are the topics that we have covered. Understand the test questions from this unit, and also we have spoken a little bit about the test structure, about video walkthrough, about test length, about adaptive testing, and also about how the test is set up, which was set up in 3 sections. The first one was introduction, the second one was the test itself, and the last one was writing and speaking sample, which I told you that writing and speaking samples will be submitted to your university, so they are important as your interview. And then we moved on to understand the test questions. We have spoken about some general tips and about test taking strategies, and then we covered writing tips, and finally we covered speaking tips. That's it. The next page that we have here, that's on page 13, we have, it says about this section. Now you will learn all about the question types, about the types of questions on the test. For each question type, you will see a few different components. The first one, example. The second one, direction. Then time limit, and then tips. I mean, these are 4 factors that we will study about every question type. The first one, we will look to the example of that question type. Then we will learn about the direction of that question type. Then we will particularly focus on the time limit. And then we will learn about tips for solving that question type. And that's it. For example, diagram of a question. So that's it. For example, the first question starts from here. So I think that's enough up to this part, after this topic. So we have a couple of minutes, and I want to just leave those minutes for your questions. So if you have any questions, so please just raise your hands and ask your questions. So this is the part of your questions. So guys, before giving you turn or giving you a chance to ask your questions, I want to say that some general questions that we are going to cover, or they are covered in the previous sessions, please don't ask those questions, okay? Just ask the kind of questions which you think that they are not covered on the previous sessions, or you think that they are not going to come on the next sessions. So particularly, as you could see on the book, that most of your previous questions have been solved. So particularly ask the questions that you are really concerned about. So here we have 3 people. They have raised their hands. The first one, Fatima Sadiqi. Bon Sadiqi, you can ask your question.
Well, thank you, sir. There's a very short question which is just popping up in my mind, and there's can the difficulty of, the difficulty level of this question decrease as well as increase? And also, let me not forget to ask, is there also an option to avoid institutions and colleges from accessing to the review of a writing and speaking samples?
Okay, very good question. Thank you. So your question somehow had 2 parts. The first one you asked, I think, about it means how the test changes the question based on our performance. Performance, guys. As I told you, for example, if your performance was weaker at the beginning of the test, so the next questions will get easier. If your performance was better, that will get difficult. It means it varies. I can't tell you specifically that will it be, for example, easier or will it be harder. The only person who decides whether your question should be difficult or easy, that's AI, artificial intelligence. Even they're not human raters. That's the machine. The machine itself decides whether they should give you a simple question or a hard question, and based on your performance, they just choose different kind of questions for you. And for the last part, guys, mostly I'm not sure about it. I don't think so that you would have that ability, because when you share your scores, particularly all your score will be shared to the university that you have asked for sharing your score. So when they share your score, the speaking and writing sample will also be with your score, and the universities will keep their eyes on them, and they really focus on the speaking and writing samples of your Duolingo tests. So that's it. If you're done, let's move on to the next person. So, Banu Pamiri, you can ask your question. Hosnagol Pamiri or Hosnigol Pamiri, please just tell me your name and then ask your question.
Thank you, teacher. This is Hosnigol Pamiri, and hello for all of you. I hope all of you be happy and healthy.
Thank
Teacher,
you.
I have a question from tonight lesson that I face with internet connection issue that I couldn't got the lesson. You share something about pronunciation. Clearly, can you tell us that which point or which kind of pronunciation should we have? British or American is important mostly.
I vote if you are asking for my personal interest. So my personal interest is something very personal. It's up to me. I personally like American pronunciation, maybe because all my English journey have been in American. But if you are comfortable with the British accent, so go on British accent. It does not make any problem. Okay, but Duolingo is somehow an English of United States. So it's better to be American. But if you were British, that will not make any problem. Any of the pronunciation which you are comfortable with, just stick to that pronunciation.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. So thank you for the question. The next person, Idris Azizi. You can ask your question. Mr. Azizi, please ask your question. Okay, maybe his connections have some problems. Wahid Mohammadi, the next person, you can ask your question.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Hello, hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
Bonus Samira, is it you?
I blank section of Duolingo test.
I think you are not hearing us correctly, and I couldn't got your question. I couldn't get your question, so please repeat that.
Um, uh, I mean that how we can make ourselves stronger in to fill in blank of Duolingo test.
Particularly, you're asking the TOEFL test or the Duolingo test, or I really couldn't get your question. Do you mean about that kind of question in the Duolingo test, which has some blanks that you are required to, for example, write some letters on them? Do you mean this question? Bono Mohammadi, I really.
Yes.
Okay, okay. That question, that's it. That's somehow easy, so don't be worried about it. That's somehow easy because when you just follow the paragraph, when you just start reading the paragraph from the beginning till the end, so you can guess the words, okay? You can guess, for example, what is the word here. And when you could guess the word, so you can remember the spelling also. And some of the letters are provided for you, just some of them are remain, and you're supposed to write those letters. And that's it. Nothing very difficult about it. So particularly, we will talk about that question later. When the it means when it was turn for that question, we will particularly talk about that question. So if your question is done, so that's it. The next person, Moscara Suli, you can ask your question.
Yes, so my question is maybe about the writing. So I have this habit of looking at the keyboard while typing and like not looking at the screen. So last day when I took a mock test, they told me that I have to look at the screen throughout the whole test and I shouldn't look at the keyboard while typing. So like, what should I do about this?
I also have had this suggestion on the previous of the class that guys, if you want to get a good score, I honestly I want to say that it needs effort. It needs trying. It needs mastering in some skills, specifically the typing skill. If you really have for example, a very high goal, if you want to get a really good score at the TOEFL or Duolingo or any test, particularly if you want to get a good score in Duolingo, please concentrate on your typing skill. At least for 30 minutes, for 1 hour a day, try to type on your computer. Okay, just for example, take a piece of paper which has an English written on themselves, or take an English book and start typing that. It means teach yourself to type without looking to the keyboard and as fast as possible, guys. Because on the test, you will get aware that on the test you won't have a lot of time. They just give you 1 minute to. There is a question type in the test which you have a conversation with a robot. Okay, you just choose a sentence, then the robot says a sentence, and based on that sentence you choose another sentence, and this way it continues for around 2-3 minutes, and then for this 3 minutes conversation they just give you 1 minute for conclusion. They give you just 1 minute and they tell you that you can, for example, conclude this paragraph. You should conclude your discussion with the robots in just 1 minute. So on that time, even if you would possible to do that, I mean, typing skill will be really important on that part, because if your typing was not good, surely you won't be able to write even more than one sentence in a minute. Okay, so that's why typing skill is the most important skill in the Duolingo test. Please put time for yourself, at least 30 minutes or 1 hour a day, and type. Just type. Guys, for the skills, the only thing that can make a skill better is practicing. If you want to be a good typer, if you want to just type without looking to the keyboard, so please type every single day, at least for 30 up to 30 or more than that minutes. So guys, wait a bit. Okay guys, so we are approximately done with this session. So particularly if you have any question, you can ask your questions right now. Please raise your hands and let me know that you have a question, and then I'll let you talk and you can ask your question.
Hi teacher,
Mr. Ahmadi, the echo of your voice is so high, I couldn't hear you correctly. Sorry. Yeah, could you just repeat your question? Okay, particularly Mr. Ahmadi, if you have any questions, so please ask your question. So, without him, if any other of you, if you have any questions, so please raise your hand and ask your questions. So we are done with the book. We are not going to cover any other topic in this session. So it's just time for your questions and any other concerns that you have. So if you have any concern about the test, or if you have any questions, so you can ask your questions right now.
Hi teacher.
Hello. Hope you're doing well.
I hope you feel well, teacher. My question is that the Duolingo test take the grammar mistake seriously, like punctuation or full stop, etc.
Mr. Ahmadi, unfortunately, your voice is breaking so much. It's breaking so much, and I couldn't hear you very well. So I think you asked about I think you asked about the punctuation and other grammar rules on the writing section. Yeah.
My question is that do the Duolingo test take the grammar mistake seriously, like punctuation?
Yeah,
full stop,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. They take it serious. The punctuations, the grammar mistakes, the spelling, even the capitalization on the, for example, test, they're really important. Even they will make you lose your scores. They will decrease your scores. So it's really crucial. As I told you, Duolingo is checking your English ability. So having a better spelling, or having, for example, a better grammar, having a good punctuation or capitalization, they are part of English journey. That's why it's really crucial for them, and they really value for the punctuation and other factors. Okay, so the next person, Abdul Khaliq, if you have any questions, so please tell me.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, first of all, hello, and I hope that you're doing well.
Thank you.
Because of internet connection, I had some problem, and I have a general question that, as you know, that there is a part in Duolingo exam about write about a photo, you know? So I would like to hear some great strategies from you.
Particularly about what?
You know that we have a part called write about a photo, yeah? So I think that is one of the most significant parts in exam. The test, I think about how we can understand something like describing a photo or what the photo can demonstrate.
Yeah. I mean,
So
when there
I
is a
would
part,
like to
yeah.
have-
I think I got your question. So, when there is a picture, they ask you to write about that picture. Okay? They give you around 1 minute, so I think, yeah. Guys, we will talk particularly about this question. You are supposed to write just 4 sentences about the photo. Okay? The first sentence should be a general sentence. Let me just recap it. The first sentence should be a general sentence. It can be in present tense or in the present continuous tense. The second sentence should talk about the action which is in performance in the photo. It should be in the continuous tense. And the third and the fourth sentence can also be the same, something like these things. Okay? At least 4 sentences are required. So writing 4 sentences in 1 minute really needs a very high speed of typing. So that's why I'm concentrating that typing is really important. So that's it. That's the reason why I say typing is important. So particularly, we will talk about that question and we will work on different photos and we will write about them. So don't be worried about it.
Yeah, thanks a lot much. And another question, if you have time.
So tell me, please. Guys, if I told you that if the questions, if your questions are particularly about the question types, so please leave them for the next sessions, because on the next sessions we will particularly talk about the question types.
Okay, surely.
Okay. That's it. Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. And so the last person, بانو نیلوفر دانشیار.
Hello everyone. Hello sir. Hope you're doing well.
Hope
Sir,
you're
I
doing
have
well
a
too.
question and I really need your suggestion too. Without this class, I mean this Duolingo online class, I have 2 classes as well. I mean, the first one is Duolingo class and another one is TOEFL preparation. So I'm really dilemma and I don't know which one is better to continue. Duolingo preparation or TOEFL preparation. So I'm really dilemma. So that's why I ask you that which one is very necessary. Although I know TOEFL is more important than Duolingo, but again, I really don't know which one is better to more focus on that, and which one is better to continue TOEFL or Duolingo preparation or both. Thank you.
What's your goal? What do you want to do with your?
I really want to get a higher number. It doesn't matter in which exam. I mean TOEFL or.
So what do you want to do
Duolingo.
with that higher number?
With that higher number, I really want to
Do you just wanna do you just wanna show off with the number, or you have any purpose?
No, nothing, not show off, sir.
If you are, if you want to show off, so go for
UK.
TOEFL. If you want to show off for the
No.
numbers, so go for TOEFL.
No, not show off. Just, sir, I want to know that which one is more necessary for.
Yeah,
for-
it's
for
up to your
classes,
goal.
like-
It's up to your goal. So suppose you get 115 in TOEFL. What are you going to do with that score? What are you going to do with that score?
So getting a higher number is of course important for each person. So I just want to apply for USA universities. So that's why I ask you that which one is which one is better.
Okay, so have you started applying to American colleges?
Yeah, of course I have found many universities there, but they are just asking for the international examination. I mean, TOEFL
Okay,
and Duolingo, so I don't have none of them.
Okay, so right now you are living in Afghanistan or outside Afghanistan?
No, of course I live in Afghanistan, but I want to apply for USA scholarship, and I want to get a scholarship from there.
Okay, so I can suggest you that if you are right now in Afghanistan, so go for Duolingo, because TOEFL is difficult. Why it's difficult? Because there is just one test center, which is in Khatib University. The next test center is ours in Ibn Sina University, in Avicenna University, but we are not active still. And in 2023, there is not any official test center in Afghanistan. There are thousands of fake test centers in Kabul, but their scores will hurt you. They'll not be effective. Okay, so and they will cost you so much, but the best option for you can be Duolingo. Cheaper.
You mean, sir?
Yeah.
Right now I have both classes. I mean Duolingo and TOEFL. So you mean should I leave the TOEFL? I mean TOEFL preparation?
No, I don't wanna order you anything with the word should or must. I just wanna use the word suggest. I suggest you for Duolingo, but the decision, it's up to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So that's it, guys. Is there any other question? If there is any other question, you can ask me. If there's no more questions, so that's going to be the end of this session. So, Bonu Danishwar, it looks like you have
Yes, sir.
still some questions.
Okay, again, sorry, sir, for making it disturb. But sir, if I want to apply for, like before I mentioned, in USA universities, so they will not. They will not give hard for us. Like we don't have the TOEFL number, and when we send our Duolingo, the Duolingo number for them, they will accept or no?
Yeah. Go to their website. They accept. They accept. Most of them accept. For example, I really like to apply for Stanford, and Stanford accepts more than 130 score. Even I want to say that even most of the American universities, they can give you coupon code for Duolingo test. For example, Stanford, Stanford. I just searched about Stanford. I don't know about other universities, but Stanford says that if you apply to Stanford, after making your student portal, after making your applicant portal, you can request them for coupon code of the test. They will provide you the coupon code. You can take a test for free, and the results will be will be shared just with the Stanford University. It means most of the American universities, even they provide you coupon code, and you can take this test for free.
You mean it's acceptable, okay?
Yeah, it's acceptable. Do you use from Common App?
Of course.
Okay, on the Common App, go to their website. Yeah, go to the website of each university. Go to the English proficiency tests. On there, they will write that whether they accept Duolingo or not.
Sir, I have found many universities, in Common App, but they do not mention, the Duolingo test or...
Go to their websites. Go to their websites. Go to their websites on the English proficiency section.
Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Mr. Abdul Khaliq, you were telling something, I think, and we just interrupted you. Sorry for that. If you have any question, you can tell me.
Okay, thank you, sir, for providing the opportunity. So my question is this, that you said you will provide, I don't know the main amount of the students, but you said you will provide some of the students the opportunity to pass the Duolingo exam for free.
Yeah, of course we will do that.
My question is this, that on which based or according to which characteristics
we will take you a test.
You up the students for pass. You will take mock tests.
Yeah, we will get a test from all of you at the end of this course.
And could you please recommend some website for passing the mock test?
Yeah, the Duolingo English test website itself, they provide thousands of free mock tests. Also, Ready Duolingo. Ready Duolingo. There's a website by then. It's from Teacher Log, and that's they provide readyduolingo.com, or I just forgot the name. That's they also provide free tests.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. And last, okay.
So I have another question as well. Sorry.
Okay.
According to saying that that book that you sent it to us that we can buy it and read it. So, sir, I bought that book, but they haven't sent me the PDF of that book. But they just sent confirmation code for me that we received your money. But till now, I haven't received any book from them.
I'm really not sure about it. They were just telling that they will give you a discount for that. Unfortunately, purchasing something online from Afghanistan, it's really difficult. I really don't have any idea about it because I have never bought something. Because I'm not really sure about it.
Sir, I haven't buy. I mean that book. My sister is there. I mean in America.
She bought the book?
That book for me. Yes, she bought, but she haven't received any book from them yet.
Oh, I'm really not, don't know what to say. They should give the book. If it was purchased physically, they should send a physical book to her address. If it was for the PDF, they should send the PDF. Just follow up. Just write some follow up emails for them. Just inquire them that what's going on. Please send me the thing.
Sir, what do you think? It can be a scam as well, or no?
It can be what?
Scam.
What do you mean by that? The book?
I mean, yeah, the book. No, the people that they are put it the link on the. I mean, on some.
No, I don't think so because they were from a famous website.
So.
Just write some follow up emails. Maybe the problem will be solved.
Okay, so I will do it.
Okay, and the next person, Salma. Bona Salma, you can ask your question.
Okay, teacher. Hello for everyone. And I don't have any question, but I want to say which I have problem in speaking, and I hear everything which you say and another I know, but I can't speaking very well.
Yeah.
And do you have any solution for me?
Okay, Bona Salma, I suggest you to take advanced classes in any course which is near to your house. Try to take an advanced class. Okay, whether they work on the advanced class, they will work on your speaking, on your writing, on your reading. This all the sections will cover. So it's better for you to pop up onto the advanced classes. Okay, on the same time, advanced classes and this Duolingo class will help you.
Okay, teacher, thanks.
You're welcome. So, guys, looks like all the questions are done. So, thank you so much for tuning into the class. I hope this session was helpful. And for all the honorable students and all the honorable people who are watching us through the YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching us. And if you have any questions, you can write your questions on the comments below. So, I hope the session was helpful for you. Hope you all have a good day. Goodbye.